All right, our next chapter is chapter 10. Yes, I know how to count. I know that 10 does not come after 3, but this is the order that we want to do it in because we just solved equations, and inequalities are very similar to equations. They have a few differences, but they're very similar, so we want to put them right after each other. Also, I'm doing a double video notes, just kind of the way things are working out. These two are easy sections. We're still going to do them on separate days, like the work on separate days, but we're just going to keep it all in one video notes. And hopefully I can keep it in the right amount of time too, so we'll see. Okay, so we have 10-1, which is order of real numbers, and 10-2, which is solving inequalities. So first we're going to start with 10-1. 10-1. Okay, so a number line, which we've talked about before, shows order relationships among real numbers. And let me draw you a number line real quick. It's going to be a really quick 3, -2, -1, 0, 1, 2, 3. Okay, so I'm going to pick actually -2, and we'll say 1. Okay, and I'm going to write some things about it, again, because it shows relationship on the number line. So I'm going to say -2 is to the left of 1. And we can see that on here. We can also write -2 is less than 1. Again, another true statement. We also can say -2 is less than 1 using the less than sign. And talking about those signs, those are some inequality signs. Hopefully you've seen some of those before. Now, we're going to come over here and it says x is greater than or equal to 5 is read exactly how I just read it. X is greater than or equal to 5. Now, x is greater than or equal to 5 is another way of writing x is greater than 5 and x is equal. Oh wait, not and. Or x is equal to 5, because it has to be one or the other. Sorry, that was definitely an or case. All right. Now, hopefully you remember the symbols. Again, we have the less than symbol. We have the greater than symbol. Okay, you read from left to right, so if you have the small side first, that's less than. If you have the big side first, that's greater than. That's how I see it. You also can have, if you have the line underneath it, that means less than or equal to, and that one means greater than or equal to. So hopefully, got that down. You might need to make an actual note because I said it, but yeah. Okay. So now we're going to translate the symbols translate the statement into symbols. Simple enough. We're going to write exactly what it says. So it says -3 is greater than -5. -3 is greater than -5. You might think, whoa, but think about a number line. Think about the number line. -5 has to come first, because then it'll be -4, then -3, -2, -1, 0, 1. Okay, don't get confused because of those negative signs. Now, x is less than or equal to 8. So x is less than or equal to 8. Now, to show that x is between -4 and 2, you write -4 is less than x, which is less than 2. Okay, these signs are going to be facing the same way, and typically we put the lowest number first, the highest number second, put your variable in the middle, and they both have to be less than. We're not going to have two signs facing opposite ways. This is how it does it. So if you see something like this, you know that the x, the variable, is in between those numbers. It is read x is greater than 4, -4, and x is less than 2. All right, now we're going to continue on, and we're doing a whole bunch of different things. We're going to classify each statement as true or false. Well, this says -4 is less than 1. Well, that part's true, and then 1 is less than 2. All of that's true, so therefore it's a true statement. This next one says -4 is less than 8. That's true. 8 is less than 2. That part is not true, so that is false, because one part of it is false. It's all false. 7 is greater than or equal to 6. We know it's not equal to, but it is greater than. It only has to be one or the other. So it's true. And 6 is greater than or equal to 6. Well, 6 is not greater than 6, but it is equal to, and it just has to be one of them. So therefore, this is a true statement. Moving right along. All right. An inequality, now getting that word out there, inequality is formed by placing an inequality symbol between numerical or variable expressions called the sides of the inequality. Just like we have two sides to an equation, we have the left side and the right side, we still have a left side and right side of the inequality. It's not, instead of an equal sign, it might be a less than or equal to, or a greater than. Now, you can solve an inequality by finding the values from the domain. What numbers are possible? And again, if you see right here, we're going to be fast forwarding to that domain, and it says, and for which the inequality is a true statement. So we need to see which ones work, which ones are true. And if they are true, such values are called solutions of the inequality. Okay, now all the solutions make up the solution set of the inequality. So you have the solution, so you have the domain, which is what you can choose from, and then you have the solutions of the inequality. Those are some of the true ones, but all of the solutions are called the solution set. Now, we did this before we learned how to solve. And again, we're going to be doing, if it has this, you're going to be plugging in. You can plug it into your head, but I'm going to write it out. So I'm going to plug in -1. -1 plus 5 is 4. 4 is less than or equal to 7. That is true, so that is one of our answers. 0 plus 5 is 5, and 5 is less than or equal to 7. That's true, so 0 is one of our answers. 1 in for y, 1 plus 5 is 6, and 6 is less than or equal to 7, so 1 is one of our answers. And then we have 2. 2 plus 5 is 7. 7 is less than or equal to 7. Yes, that's true, because it's also equal to. And I have a feeling that we are now going to have 8 is less than or equal to 7, which is not true, not true. And then 4, so that's going to be 9 is less than or equal to 7. Not true. So our solution set is going to be, or not our solution set, our solutions of the inequality, -1, 0, 1, and 2 will be our answers. But after the first day, we're going to then solve them, which is what I'm going to show you now. But before we actually do that, you're going to be plugging them in, okay? Now this is 10-2, solving inequalities. Now, solving inequalities is the same as solving equations, except for one thing. When you divide or multiply by a negative number, you must, you must flip the sign. And I'm going to show you that in just a bit. Now, it's when you divide it by a number, not when there is a negative number. But we'll clarify that in just a second. Now, some graphing tips, because you're going to also have to graph them. They're going to be graphed on a number line, and I'm going to show you a couple ways that I don't mind you graphing it. But some graphing tips. If you have a less than or a greater than sign, it's going to be an open circle. That's what we call it, and it's just going to graph like that. If it is less than or equal to, or greater than or equal to, closed circle, just like that, okay? So, both of those. So now we're going to solve and graph that. So, add 9 to both sides. Same thing like an equation. We get n is less than 11. So that's my answer. Then I'm going to graph it. It's going to be a close or open circle at 11. I like to graph it above it because it gets too confusing for me. And then I know that I'm going to graph it to the left side because it has to be less than. Now, there's an arrow trick that as long as the variable's on the left, then whatever way this is pointing, that's the way your arrow goes. Only works if the variable is on the left. Keep that in mind. Okay, so this is one way to graph it. Another way to graph it. You can have 11, and you could do it right here, and then you have to make sure that it is clear to me that, oops, and it's hard to do that on the computer, like that. Okay. Okay, maybe you can't do that on the computer, so I would recommend doing my way if you're going to do it on the computer. Now, if you're doing it on paper, it might be easier, but it needs to be clear to me. Do not have something like this, or I don't even know. It needs to be parallel. Okay, don't do that. So I'm going to be doing them all like this, FYI. So now I'm going to divide by a -8 on this side. And we are dividing by the negative number, right? The 8 is negative. So therefore, we're going to have to flip the sign. So okay, instead of being less than or equal to, it now has to be greater than or equal to, and then I get a -2. So I flip the sign because I divided by a negative. If I was dividing by 8, I would not be dividing by a negative, but I am. So I'm going to put a -2 here, close circle, and since my variable's on the left, I can use the arrow trick and point it to the right. So I'm going to bring the variables to the left, numbers to the right. So I'm going to add 3, and I'm going to also, in the same step, subtract 4x. Okay, so I added 3, so that's going to be 10 on this side, and then I'm subtracting, that's okay. So that's going to be 2x, divide by 2, so x is less than 5. So therefore, I'm going to graph it, 5, and then we're going to open circle to the left for that. All right, do some distributing, so I have 2w minus 16 plus 9 is greater than or equal to 12 minus 3w minus 4. Combine like terms, so I have 2w, and that's going to be a -7 is greater than or equal to 8 minus 3w. I'm going to add the 3w over here to get 5w, add the 7 over here to get 15, divide by a 5. So w is greater than or equal to 3. Okay, so close circle to the right. Now, here we go. I'm going to get 4x is greater than 4x plus 8. Subtract 4x. That gives me 0 is greater than 8. That is a false statement. So that means no solution, and you don't have a graph. Same thing, false statement, no solution. Now this one, y plus 5 is less than 7y minus 6y plus 6. Combine my terms, so y plus 5y is less than y plus 6. Subtract the y so they cancel out. 5 is less than 6. That's true, so that means all real numbers, and you can graph that. I'm going to just do 0, I'm going to do a -1 and 1, and I'm just going to draw a line completely above it. So same situations. I'm almost at 15 minutes, which it will cut me off. There's a lot of information. Please ask questions in class when we get practice. Thanks.